Hi, I'm Becca with Dorman Products, here to talk to you today about knuckles. The knuckle is a piece by which the wheels are attached to a car, and in the case of front knuckles, they are also a critical piece of the steering system. By its nature, it's also a part of a vehicle's suspension. You may be asked for a knuckle, a hub, or a spindle. Generally speaking, a knuckle is the component to which a hub or spindle mounts. The knuckle often links the control arms and sometimes carries the brake caliper bracket or also supports the lower end of a strut. Some knuckles contain a spindle, a protrusion that carries the wheel hub, the item to which the wheel bolts. Others carry the hub directly. Knuckles may be found on both driven and non-driven axles, and when they are located on the front of a vehicle, they are often referred to as steering knuckles. Knuckles, being no more than a lump of metal, really don't require frequent service. They are replaced for really one of two reasons. The first is impact damage. A curb shot is often enough to crack an aluminum knuckle. The second is bearing replacement gone awry. In some cases, the bearing pocket's ID becomes too large to maintain the press fit required to secure the wheel bearing. Knuckles have, in the past, been an item to acquire from salvage vehicles, but those bearings often can have the same problem as the ones of the car getting replaced. Similarly, if a standard double tapered bearings have failed catastrophically, the spindle shaft may be damaged and the OD of the spindle may no longer be large enough to hold the outer race of the inner bearings in a secure fashion. If a customer is asking for one of these parts, know that Dorman sells both spindles and knuckles. We also sell our knuckles in two formats. The first is the bare or unloaded knuckle, which is the traditional format for these. This is a fresh knuckle designed to accept new pieces. Our other format is helpful for both commercial shops and weekend warrior DIYers. The loaded knuckle. Loaded knuckles eliminate the need for a shop press, a fairly specialized piece of equipment that helps drive bearings in and out of knuckles with tons of force. Loaded knuckles also eliminate the need to wait for a knuckle if the bearing is needed. A shop could schedule a customer visit by purchasing the loaded knuckle. They don't need to order parts that won't be used, yet they'll have all the parts handy to complete the same-day job. This is a huge selling feature. At over $100 per hour, consider how much a car stranded on a lift costs. Remember, it can't be rolled out into the lot because there's nowhere to mount a wheel. That savings also applies to buying a new unloaded knuckle instead of a used one. The salvage yard needs time to pull the old knuckle and deliver it. If there's a problem with the part, there may not be a speedy solution. Selling a new one greatly reduces the odds of having a car sit on the lift. We also sell spindles. You'll usually sell a spindle for a two-wheel drive truck or van, or occasionally a very old passenger car. Normally they are replaced because the bearings have not been serviced and the inner race cannot be removed from the spindle, or the spindle has become damaged during an attempted removal. If you're selling a spindle, unloaded knuckle, or loaded knuckle, some penetrant is usually a good recommendation. If you're selling a spindle, new bearings, races, and a seal are practically a given. And a tub of grease is one of those things no one wants to forget. Dorman also sells lots of other things that are necessary for servicing a spindle, including dust caps, cotter pins, castellated nuts, and spindle washers. If you're selling an unloaded knuckle, you might want to offer a bearing. But you may also want to be selling that knuckle specifically because the customer has the bearing and has run into an install snafu. For all these items, a hub might also be a reasonable recommendation too. The hub and bearing may be built in together, or they could be separate. If the wheel is driven, an axle nut may not be a bad suggestion. And if it's a torque to yield axle nut, it's a necessity. Those are a one-time use only. Installation on these really ranges from very easy in the case of a wheel bearing repack on a spindle-equipped vehicle to a real pain in the case of a knuckle with a bearing that's stuck fast. Customers will need a way to get the wheels off the ground. And of course, that shop press we mentioned earlier will be required for removing and replacing bearings pressed into the knuckle. Ball joint and tie rod separator tools, whether press style or pickle fork style, are also necessary for knuckle replacement. And remember, if you need any help before, during, or after the sale, our Dorman technical support team is standing by. You can call them at 866-933-2911. Thanks for taking a little time to brush up on steering knuckles. We hope it helps you and your customers. I'm Becca, and I'll see you soon.